Statistical analysis and interpretation is the focus of this course. However, no amount of analysis manipulation will correct for flawed data collection. In this section, we'll look at several important sources of data collection error so that you can identify them yourself. Well, one of the first things that you need to keep in mind is asking who benefits from the particular results of that study, or following the money. This is particularly important when you're reading marketing research, and this includes pharmaceutical reports. So, in probability theory, keep in mind anything can happen once. That doesn't necessarily mean that the one time it happens is indicative of the most likely outcomes. So, applying this to thinking about the reports of studies that we find often at the bottom of a pharmaceutical advertisement campaign, keep in mind that that means that if I run multiple studies, I only have to report the one that fits with my claims. So, if I ran 20 studies with a particular drug, only one of them showed an actual effect that I wanted. I can report that at the bottom of my advertisement, showing that research is supporting my conclusions and my medications, and I'm under no obligation currently to report the other 19 that showed no effect. That one study that did show an effect is not representative of the overall pattern, but under current regulations, it is still a valid factual statement. This is why we prefer to rely on peer-reviewed published research journals. These journals explicitly require the authors to file a conflict of interest statement, and these have to be explored carefully before the manuscript proceeds to publication. It also requires that they have an IRB clearance form, or this stands for the Internal Review Board. This requires the author has carefully provided for explanations and addressed ethical concerns. Unfortunately, due to the increasing competitive nature of academic success, where the number of publications is constantly going up, even here we're beginning to see serious concerns with regards to faulty data. For example, Dr. Han received a $7.2 million NIH grant to be able to follow up on his treatment for HIV, a treatment which was found to actually be based on contaminated data. Dr. Hanton had 25 articles retracted from Accounting Review, an area that should be of particular interest to many of you business students, and recently the journal Vibration and Control had to retract 60 papers due to faulty data. Keep in mind that the other thing that can happen is pharmaceutical companies benefiting from your independent research when it supports their treatment. I have a colleague whose current research supports the outcomes of a particular pharmaceutical drug. He's recently been invited to serve as a keynote speaker for several important conferences that are funded by this particular pharmaceutical company. Now, he's not receiving direct money from them, but obviously, as long as his research still continues to support their goals and they're funding the conferences, he continues to benefit. Now, if you're wondering how you can keep track of contaminations of data and how these studies are removed, I strongly suggest that you follow Retraction Watch on the web. They're a great source and I found them to be very reliable. This concludes our consideration of looking at following the money and who benefits from the sources of the data. The next thing we'll be looking at is sampling method and recruitment.